Alright, so we're doing our review on Glass. This movie, I have mixed feelings about it. It's kind of, the ending's kind of a double-edged sword, multiple twists in here, typical M. Night Shyamalan fashion. Can't do a movie without a twist. Uh, but there are kind of multiple twists in here. And Glass, it's a very, very interesting climax to a really interesting trilogy because you have your first film, which going into, not necessarily many people understood what it was. It was like a supernatural character study, very grounded in reality, explored what heroes and villains would essentially be if they were real. And I mean, the only thing that's really explored something like that is heroes, but it was a bit more, flashy with its superhero type powers. And but you had Unbreakable, the first installment, and then you had the second installment, which was Split, and that was very interesting. It was like a psychological thriller that bordered on horror. And when it finally came to the end, what you figured out is that these two films were connected. Now, here in the third movie, Glass, it's exploring two different. This is like the conclusion, the climax to two different, very different films. In this movie, we have David Dunn, the character from the first movie, and at the end of the second movie, David Dunn, the hero, Bruce Willis. And you see what's become of him finally after all this time. What has David Dunn done with his acknowledgement of his superpowers? What kind of life has he led? What has it really changed? And you also have the Horde from the second film, which is Kevin McAvoy's character, which there's like 24 character names for the character because he has, dissociative identity disorder. Or he has a ton of different identities. Yeah, it's very hard to remember the names of all of them. Barry, Kevin, uh, Patricia. Those are some of the main ones, anyway. Uh, but he's still on the loose in this film, running around, murdering people, being a serial killer. And then you have, well, for the most part, Samuel Jackson's character, Mr. Glass, he stayed in an institution this entire time, and he has a his character's life came to a grinding halt. But exploring David Dunn as a superhero is very interesting to walk around to see how he kind of scouts out these criminals, how he brings them down. How his son from the first film is all grown up and helping him with this. They have their own private security building. He's no longer working security for the stadium. And there's all kinds of callbacks and little flashbacks to Unbreakable in this movie itself. And there's so much meat substance to the characters. The movie really is more of a character study and an exploration of mythologies. It's it's got a lot of great stuff to it, and it's got some pretty negative stuff to it. But Bruce Willis's character and his son, that was so interesting. He's got this earpiece. Him and his son stay in communication. They work together. They stay in touch. He goes out. He finds criminals. He brings them down. There's news reports of them. There's like all kinds of stuff in the media. He's becoming more acknowledged by the world. And they talk about how they're calling him the overseer, which he likes better. That this is the name that's sticking with him, the overseer, instead of names like the tippy toe, and there was another name. But He's like, I'm glad that one didn't stick. Uh, the character from the first movie, the wife, mm, you know, things happened there that there was some loss, and we get to see all. What I really liked about this is that there are all these years though, there's still callbacks to the importance of those characters from those films. You have Samuel Jackson, Elijah's mom. She plays a role in this movie. You have the girl that survives Split. She plays a pretty big role in this movie, and then you have Bruce Willis's son in here. All these characters have very big, important parts to play, and the new character, Sarah Paulson, played by Sarah Paulson, her name slips my mind, but for the most part of the movie, all these characters are locked down in this institution, and we're exploring that maybe they're all wrong about their abilities, their powers, uh, as she's trying to convince them that there is a psychological disorder that they each share. That she's pretty much trying to convince them what they believe is not real, that they're wrong. And it's interesting exploring that all the little things that all coincide with each other, that do give them the same like qualifications to share the same disorder or whatever. Uh, all that's very interesting. Man, I was never on board with this. I was like, no, I don't want to believe that. I want to believe that they're real. So don't kill it for me. Uh, Samuel Jackson's character Elijah is unfortunately heavily sedated and pretty docile for a good chunk of the movie. But Kevin McAvoy's his his character is just all over the place. So many different accents, so many different personalities. This actor is just amazing, man. Like, he plays a woman, a child. So many different characters, evil characters, good characters, goofy characters, and, they get back to exploring like all the things that Samuel Jackson's character Elijah kept talking about in the first movie. Comic archetypes and the mythology. They really dig deep into it, but at the same time, it's like very surface level stuff that's just kind of cliche and tropes and stereotypical stuff. Nothing like too really, nothing too deep. In fact, there are a lot of things in here that just kind of bothered me. I felt like some of the dialogue was really lazy. Samuel Jackson, Elijah, he says a lot of things in here that are just like obvious nods. His dialogue is like, this is the moment when this happens or that happens, and it's just you're stating us facts that we're familiar with. Some of the dialogue kind of bothered me. Around that time, the third act, I thought it would be bigger, better, a bigger showdown, a bigger climax, but it was very anticlimactic, and it wouldn't have bothered me so much because again, this is trying to be really grounded in reality. But the twist to that is uh, kind of devastating and lackluster. The overall twist for the film. At the second twist, because there's a second twist too. It's just I don't want to spoil the movie really necessarily because I think people should go see it and make up their own mind about it. But there are a lot of great things in here, and they're mostly just the little moments that create such a strong connection with previous films. All that, like the weightlifting David Dunn did, and In Unbreakable here, there are a couple callbacks to that scene. There's a couple callbacks to like the discoveries of their weaknesses, and I really like this film for like the first act was really great for me. The first act is hands down the best. The second act, there were a lot of things that were bothering me about it. You know, this woman trying to convince them that what they believe in isn't real, that it's just a psychological disorder. Because I didn't want to be on board with that. I didn't want that to be the way things go down. Uh, and then the third act, it's just a heartbreaking experience because you know for so long, you're finally getting to see these characters come back. Glass and David Dunn, the Overseer, and Mr. Glass, Samuel Jackson, Bruce Willis. You're finally getting to see them come back and finally getting to the point where they may realize their full potential and all that. And Kevin McAvoy's character was really amazing. The acting for this movie was pretty strong for me. The music, the the character study, really deep character exploration, and not just of the three main characters, but the supporting cast. Because every comic book needs its supporting cast. Superman needs his Lois Lane and Jimmy Olsen and Perry White and Lex Luthor types. Everybody needs that kind of cast. So and they really fleshed out this world that they made it feel lived in. They made it feel like it's existed for a while, a long time. And it's really interesting, but the it just feels like this movie, the third this is the third and like likely pretty sure final installment, and I just didn't feel like that's the way you should cap off the trilogy, close it, wrap it up with a bow, and finish it. I feel like a lot more should have and could have been done. Maybe this movie should have just been put out as like the third installment, but not wrapped up all the things that it did, so it could generate more money for another installment with a bigger budget. Unfortunately, this movie, I'm pretty sure it wraps up the trilogy as a whole and ties it up with that bow. So I'm broken about this. Split, shattered, whatever, all this stupid little references you can make that are just blatantly obvious. This film, it's really hard to rate this film because I have such mixed feelings on it. I really wanted to like it a lot more. I looked forward to it. Maybe I came in with expectations too high because I really think Unbreakable is one of the best superhero movies. That one I gave a 10 out of 10. Split, I think I gave it 8 because I thought it was really interesting with the way this actor was able to pull off so many personalities and pull them off well. And I really looked forward to like Glass, like Mr. Glass, Elijah, finally being really explored after he was outed as the villain in Unbreakable, and that never got to be really followed up with. So I really wanted a lot more of him than I got here. And I really wanted a lot more Bruce Willis too than I got here because Unbreakable, like I said, it explored Elijah and David, you know, realizing what their positions are, where they stand in the world and with each other. And I wish that would have got more explored and fleshed out here than it was. But it's kind of a lackluster payoff to really strong films. Though I do appreciate it being able to stay grounded in reality, because when Unbreakable came out, weren't really many superhero movies out. Since then, superhero films have exploded. They've gone very over the top and flashy, all in your face. Here, this one, even in direct competition with all these other films that are just in your face, tense action, flashy, colorful, everything. To put out a movie like this and keep it very grounded without going too crazy with the action stuff, it's almost suicide when your competition is doing all this other stuff, all this jokey, flashy, big budget type stuff. So yeah, this was a pretty risky movie to do. But I appreciate it staying grounded in its own universe, not trying to go too far to compete, or not even really trying to compete with the rest of the superhero movies that have all pumped themselves out there. But still, it's pretty lackluster for me. I got to give it a 6 out of 10. It's the weakest of the trilogy. It's not really a good payoff to characters we've waited forever to see again. And I just do not like the outcome of things. And Sarah Paulson, she always comes off like Sarah Paulson to me in whatever she plays. Uh, Maybe that was also a problem watching this film. She just felt like other characters she played, not really feeling like her own character in here or anything, because I mean, up against Kevin McAvoy, who's doing all this personality stuff, and up against Samuel Jackson, who usually plays a bit more of an angry, like badass type. Uh, Here he's pretty docile and not like trying to steal the spotlight or everything. You can tell that it's just really grounded, and I appreciated that performance. Uh, Even though I wish he would have got explored more. And Bruce Willis, he plays it pretty tame. So everybody else is all the acting here, all the characters, the supporting cast, it was all great for me. Just Sarah Paulson's one negative, and the ending I didn't like. It's it does have a double edge, a twist to the twist. Uh, and while I appreciate the twist to the twist, I don't appreciate the twist. Uh, well, that's kind of hard to explain because, like, the twist is, it's not really written well or really even well paid off, or it's just the third act is kind of just like poorly written and poorly played out. Anyway, 6 out of 10. Like, subscribe, comment, share your opinion. I'd like to hear other people's opinions. Ring that bell to get notified. I'm not monetized. Check out my YouTube. Check out my PayPal and my GoFundMe link if you want to support my channel. Those are ways to do so. Ultimately, thanks for viewing. Stay awesome. Rock on.